Hello, my fellow schizotypals. Welcome back to Highlit. What up, doe? Did you hear that noise? Welcome to Friday. What happened yesterday? Well, I don't know. We updated. We got a thumbnail for the channel now, so it's like we're getting a little bit more of that professional mystique. I've been talking to some artists just for general collaboration. We also got these two pieces on the wall now. Isn't that? See, we're building an ambiance together. There's a story to the set. We're growing together as people. I'm trying to just looking into like property and shit like that. It's very interesting. Um, and what else is going on with the thumbnail? I don't know. We threw it together in like 10 minutes on fucking Photoshop, so I think it works. I think it's adequate etiquette. Yeah, that's going on. And what was I talking about? Oh yeah, property. So the idea that I would say, so you gotta like look around at neighborhoods. So it's like in my experience with Detroit, Michigan, you got $500 houses, you got $20,000 houses, you got $40,000 houses, you got $80,000 houses, you got $220,000 houses, you got $320,000 houses. When you're looking at a $320,000 house and you're comparing that to an $80,000 house, what are you really getting in the difference? I would say that the 3200 is really location, and like the locations aren't necessarily even good for the right reasons. Like sometimes it's literally corporate investment where they literally overprice properties and things like that. So one of the things that I'm trying to really promote is urbanism and the idea of traditional urban environments because of this, where it's like it I keep getting scatterbrained just because my da 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 da. But walkability teaches you about neighborhoods. When you walk through neighborhoods, you learn a lot more about them, and that's why I'm such a proponent of that. Because I think it's the best way to really learn about the world around you. I think it's the best way to be a part of it and to be integrated into it, and etc. So that's why I'm such a fan of it. Also, it also like fights against diabetes and such conditions, which obviously I'm not a big fan of. My family's very diabetic. I am predisposed to be diabetic, so I just I know I'm not a big on it. This guy has an interesting talk, which I'm going to just play. Does my desktop audio work on the stream? Hopefully.
Meaning they don't get this initial inoculum or coating of bacteria that's been designed by evolution to be in the mother's birth canal. Instead, they're first coated with other bacteria on the skin or in the hospital environment, which has contributed to up to a 25% increased risk of obesity, asthma, immune deficiencies, and inflammatory bowel disease in later life.
I think you'll hear it, but I can't hear it. So
fortunately, in recent times, we've realized we must restore our relationship with gut microbes for our own physical health. However, yet we've still completely underestimated their role as our...
So, I don't know if the audio is going to be working, but let's just try that again.
Meaning they don't get this initial inoculum. 1 in 3 children in America are born by C-section, meaning they don't get this initial inoculum or coating of bacteria that's been designed by evolution to be in the mother's birth canal. Instead, they're first coated with other bacteria on the skin or in the hospital environment, which has contributed to up to a 25% increased risk of obesity, asthma, immune deficiencies, and inflammatory bowel disease in later life.
So I thought that was very fascinating. I know that we're a little bit all over the place. Weed. Where's the weed? What's going on with weed? This is a weed show. Hey, weed man, why aren't you talking about weed? Because we're a holistic. That's the trickery. That's how I've got you. I've got you with the weed, but we're actually just anti-pharma. Well, okay, we're not anti-pharma. I think that there's good things for it, but ultimately, I like plants. I think mushrooms are good. LSD is strange, but it's not bad. And like things like this are, I believe in this more than lithium. I believe in this more than meth. I believe in this more than most of your fucking things that you're trying to give me for bullshit, It's like, this is what made me drink water and eat healthy food. And like, dude, like, would you call me fat? Would you say that that's my fucking rib cage, So it's like, I'm just saying that it's like, it's like, as somebody who comes from like an incredibly obese family, the only times that my family on my mother's side are very athletic built. So, you know, in their youth, they were, you know, high energy and they're like running around and they're, you know, they got so much fucking life to them. So, like, that's like why they're always like burning calories and like how they were able to maintain healthy weights. But once you remove that culture from the environment, then they get really, what's the word? It's not contentedness, but it's like, it's got a similar thing where you're just satisfied with it, and complacency. They become complacent in a sedentary lifestyle where it's like instead of playing sports, now they're coaching sports, and you know, like that obviously doesn't require the same amount of physical exercise, so they start consume or like, you know, burning less energy. Their body stops consuming fat and like etc. for, you know, things like that, and then they just blow up and they just get obese because it's like, yeah. Meanwhile, for me, because I was a C-section baby, it's funny because it's like, bro, it's fucking weird. I'm not talking shit here. Everybody's a beautiful person. My mother happened to be an obese woman who had a C-section. That increases my likelihood to be schizophrenic 2 to 3-fold due to the fact that she's obese, and also it has a 25% increase of obesity, IBD, and other autoimmune disorders. And like, here's a weird thing. During puberty, my sister and I, so both of us, and I'm pretty sure she was a C-section as well, both of us developed an allergy to sweat. What is an allergy to sweat? It's called urticaria. You can look it up, but urticaria just means you get hives from a histamine reaction. For us, we were producing histamine that our body, like the histamine that you produce when you sweat, that's supposed to be like an anti-inflammatory, our body saw as a foreign agent and saw as a, and to this day, if I run and like get really, really sweaty, I start getting red and I break out in hives because my body has this autoimmune condition that is super fucking strange and esoteric. And when you go talk to a doctor about it, they're like, sucks to suck, kid. I don't know. I don't know why God hates you. But, you know, so it's like, I don't know, like, it's just weird to, like, be reviewing this stuff and, like, looking into it and just being like, maybe these things aren't the best. A conversation that I'm trying to get into approach is the obesity conversation, because it's like, I would like to really, for the people who, so, I'm not really an identitarian. I don't really believe in identities. I know that that might be a difficult thing, might be a little bit of a, you know, hot take, but like, in terms of like, you know, I don't really see people as gay. I don't really see people as fat. I don't really see people as attributes. I see people as character. As a novelist, I very much am interested in the outliers. I'm very much interested in outsiders. So I never am really interested in how people are as a rule. I'm interested in how people are as an exception. And therefore, identitarianism just isn't that very, it's not very useful to me, because I'm looking always for exceptions anyway. And so, with the people who are identifying as obese, or they have, like, you know, a medical condition which makes it truly impossible, okay, I feel you. But for people who are obese, don't want to be, and feel like they have the ability to change, I think that that is a conversation we should really be having. Because I think it is like, I don't really like the, like, fucking sports culture behind it, where it's like, yeah, bro, lose some fucking pounds, bro, yeah, bro. You know, I'm not very fratty. But at the same time, it's like, nah, bro, like, you know, just, like, drink water. Here, I feel like this one's realistic, all right? All the pop, gone. All the caffeine with sugar, gone. Okay, you can drink no sugar. None of it. You get to drink water. You can drink sparkling water. Now, here's your cheat. You can drink liquor. You can drink liquor and black coffee. I think you're going to lose weight. You know? Do that. Walk every day. If you have a liquor store, walk to the liquor store. If you've got a grocery, walk to the grocery. Try to get 2 bags and carry that home if it's within like a half mile. You know, just do stuff like that. Walk your dog. Like, do stuff like that. And just generally, like, try to do as many errands as you can via physical exercise. And do that just every day, you know? Like, just incorporate moving into your lifestyle. And eventually it should set, and you should be able to, you know, like, reverse. Or not reverse, but you should be able to set healthier habits that will make your body. Because, like, you look how you live. You know? I look like a fucking nerd. Because I am a fucking nerd. I'm built like a football player, but I look like a nerd. And that's just because it's, like, that's the lifestyle. So it's, like, I'd say it's the same thing with, like, obesity, weight, etc. And, like, again, I'm not trying to have the shame conversation. I don't like the frat conversation. But I do think it's, like, for me, it's about representation. And, like, yeah, I'm happy to talk about schizophrenia. I'm happy to talk about autism. I'm happy to talk about OCD. I'm also happy to talk about obesity. I mean, I guess also, like, later on, something that we should be talking about is sex, and, like, sex as a general concept, because I don't know about y'all, but I fucking hate the sexual environment in America, where I see it as very predatory. I see it as very predatory and very transaction based. And that's not to talk any shit. Like, listen, I got sex worker friends who I've fucked for free. I haven't. Okay, I'm not gonna go into my own past, but point is, I'm with them. You know, I like it. I understand the community. I accept it. There's nothing to that. But for me, it's not about that transaction. For me, it's about the transaction in the spiritual sense, where it's like people are emphasizing this sort of relationship as service instead of relationship as growth. Where it's like, if a relationship is a potential for both of you to grow, that's beautiful. But if a relationship is for you to do something for someone, or someone to do something for you, it's not. That's a business. That's a business partner. You know, that's a different vibe. That's not really what you should be looking for. You should be looking for, like, comfort, intimacy, feeling like you're able to share things without being shamed, but also, like, get a honest reaction. You know, just things like that. People who hold you to account. Like, this is what you're looking for in a community. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a difficult one. What else we got popping up here is that it's like, so this is Strong Towns. We've talked about them. They're fucking awesome. So they're talking about Delft, which is the city. It's like one of the quietest cities in the world, because they, like, really try to reincorporate things. So, like, they in the 1970s, they really, like, turned their city around. So in the 60s, it was trying to modernize, and they, like, demolished large parts of the inner city and its surrounding neighborhoods. And you know, so the idea is that it's like, it's like, yeah, people make mistakes. Like, we make mistakes with development, and this is what DTF is, like, the satirical political party that we have. The idea isn't, it's like, dude, you can change this. Just because we developed one way doesn't mean we can't develop back the other way. There's also an empty fucking truck lot that's for sale for $1.4 million, and if you put $30 million worth of housing development on that as, you know, a traditional city like Amsterdam, like Lahore, and you, again, like I was saying, I think you could flip it for double the profit. I think that would be a great fucking city program. That one's for free. Well, it's not for free, give me credit, but still. So, and they also do these, like, really low speed limits, and, like, I feel like this is also differences, like, you know, so when I'm building up, when I'm building up a Minecraft town, what I'm building up is, something that's, like, the entirety of it is supposed to be interesting. The entirety of it is supposed to be a place that you want to walk. You know, like, each place is supposed to feel distinct. It's supposed to feel like a little neighborhood. It's supposed to feel like something that you can understand. Whereas, like, the cut up city is just this, like, it's island after island after island, which doesn't. I mean, like, the reason why I bring that up is because it's like, if you have an island here, so, like, say you have downtown, and then you live, like, 30 miles north, so that takes, like, at least 30 minutes to go in if you're traveling at 60. So it's like, if you've got, like, what, 120,000 people making that commute every day from that same fucking city or that same suburb coming into the downtown, then you're going to want, like, speed limits up to 75, and you're going to have people speeding up to 90. because it's like because they live on this island and they go hang out on that island. You know, it's like because it's so far away, you need these high-speed cars, which could be replaced by high-speed rail that can go up to 220 miles per hour, which would cut down that commuter time even fucking further. But you just love your fucking capsule, you know. And so it's like when I'm developing a Minecraft town, I'm not developing things that, like, you know, it's not like one house here and then one house way the fuck over there. It's one house here, the smallest road possible, a house next to that, the smallest road possible, a house next to that. It's very dense, you know, so it's like it's very immediately understandable and things like that. And like there's a commuter rail, but that's meant to connect further parts of it to allow further access through it. You know, it's like everything is supposed to be designed in itself, whereas like with a highway, you're designing outside of itself. So like that, yeah. And that's where I think that this person's talking about restoring the freedom to roam. They get lost sometimes. There's also like maps and shit, bro. Just check your phone. You know, like kids are going to grocery stores, they're going to school by themselves, like all this stuff, and it's like, you know, people are talking about like, not to talk shit, but like people are talking about like how children need to be treated like adults and like asked like, hey, what do you think your gender will be? And it's like, well, hey, how about biking to school? How about like buying their own food and cooking for themselves? Like maybe if they can make those adult decisions and actions and they can perform that way first, then we start giving them more responsibility. You know, like this is the real way to integrate it into life, is to become part of your community. I mean, I think that also like ties into this idea, which is the 15-minute city, which has been, you know, it's become like a popular phrase, which is cool because it does basically hit the idea, which is that you should have everything within a 15-minute walking distance. But also when you look at like, if you do study Rome and you do study like classical cities and things like that, you'll see all the same patterns reemerging where it's like, so, you know, like all these marvelous buildings that we couldn't imagine, you know, where it's like these buildings are fucking magnificent. They're so like filled with life and things like that. They're so, you know, they're not filled with life, but they're so fucking gaudy and like, you know, like the Art Deco of fucking Detroit is what I would compare it to, where it's like, I think we are America's Rome, but like that's like the Coliseum, you know, where it's like you look at this and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? But the thing about it is that poor people in Detroit and in ancient Rome, they lived in wooden housing, you know, so it's like in Detroit that shit got burned down. In Rome, it just collapsed over thousands of years. So like you're not going to see the 3-story, 2-story wooden story, or I think it was even up to 6-story. These like shitty wooden apartment complexes that would look very modern next to these really expensive high end stone buildings that survive to this day. You know, so it's like we haven't really reinvented the city, just like we haven't really reinvented clothing or food. You still need both. You know, you still need a city, you still need clothing, you still need food. Sure, these things change over time, but there's still basic fundamentals that you can't really escape. That's cool. So they got like a little seminar here. I'll support that. Also, obviously, check out their podcast. So, you know, these people have a lot of great ideas, and I mean that's like basically what I want to normalize with the show, is that it's like there's a lot, you know, it's like it's easy to just get into drama cycles. I remember in 2014 I was watching like or it was 2016 I was watching like the Colossal's Crazy Loop with like fucking Keemstar and all that shit, and I was like, you know, it's like it's fun, but at the same time there's so much worthwhile stuff out there for you to consume that I would highly recommend you spend your time on, because it's just interesting to see what happens when you start investing in things you care about and yourself. Yeah, I take fucking chugs of coffee. But, I mean, we didn't really go into science. We were basically just talking about urbanism. But that's the thing. It's weed science, classic lit, urbanism, and independent music. I want to do interviews next week. It looks like power is going to remain stable. We got thumbnails up. And with the GoPro shit, I think it is just that it needs a capture card. Because I'm assuming, I just don't. I think I just don't do stuff fine. But maybe we could just do like a fucking trip out somewhere. Yeah, that's about all on the urbanism topic. But we can just do like a quick search on cannabis and gut health. So when we were talking about obesity, because he was talking about how the C-section limits your exposure to natural bacteria in the womb, and so it's like that makes a 25% increased risk of obesity because the baby is not exposed to that. Who knows? Cannabis has kind of mixed research on it. Let's see, since 2021. I don't want to go into AIDS yet because I don't really have a full understanding. Nope. Who knows about CBD? Who knows? I think that so there's like a thing with IBD where it's like a lot of people with IBD are more prone to using cannabis, which I think does point towards a preference. I think that ultimately, so maybe it's not a direct a causal relationship, but like, so just riffing here. So there's receptors in the brain and the gut that interact with cannabinoids, and if the gut is like a second brain, because the brain is control of like your mood, your thoughts, your da 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 da, but then the gut has like this like these bacteria that like also the health of that is related to your cognition, your focus, and things like that, which is really wild too, because Nietzsche called that shit. Nietzsche was just right. Um, but because he's always like, it's like it's your stomach, and it's like, oh, yeah, kind of. It's your stomach and your brain. I guess the heart's also important because it's got this like magnetic field. I don't know. I'd have to look into that shit. That's a little bit. It's just more and more complicated. But the point is, with the gut microflora, I think that ultimately one of the biggest killers to it is stress. I think that that's why so many people die from stress. I think that's why stress is such a chronic health issue. So I think that if cannabis can be healthily integrated into your life and lower your stress levels, if that's what cannabis treatment does for you, I think that that could help your gut, because you're it's like if you're relaxing more, if you're incorporating more healthy habits, if cannabis is helping you in that routine, I think that you're going to see benefits from it. So that's the idea I have with that one. Okay, now we're just transitioning, but I think there's an interesting question about representation in art, where it's like, what is representation for? So, sobernost is an idea that I like a lot, and it's something that when I talk about with Russians, they start kind of paying attention, because they're like, oh shit, you care. Like, oh shit, you like are kind of on a similar page, where it's like the ego is not the center of reality. The ego is not the center of experience. Like, we are of the world and with the world, and we are the world. Not to say that we include all of the world, but the world does include all of us. And that's not to say like the material realm, but like if you want to understand it as God, or you want to understand it as Brahma, like there's something about it, like we are within something. It's not that, because Satanism is that we do contain everything, and that everything is us, and the sobernost is the opposite idea, is that we are nothing without everything. Like without the existence of the collective and God, without the existence of the holy collective, God who loves that collective, and our relationship with God and that collective, what's the point? So I think that if you have that sort of motivation as a moral frame, then when you're looking at your, like, what is important to celebrate, it's like, so who are the people I love? And then you're looking at that as a motivation for a character rather than it's like, well, what do I want to say? What do I want to express? Like, what is the most direct relationship I can have with what I want to say to, you know, to the subject material. Um, and I think that what I'm saying here is like, so it's like, rather than saying that it's like, you know, say you really don't like the Chicago Metro, you know, like you really don't like the train that it has, and so like you just write a story about how awful it is. It's like, well, okay, you did prove your point. You expressed yourself. Good job. Like, kudos. You expressed yourself. I'm very proud of you. But at the same time, if you took that theme and you're like, hey, every time I'm on this train, I have an unpleasant experience, and there seems to be inefficiencies in it. And then you know, start to live that lifestyle, and then you start to, like, you know, you get a job along that route, you live along that route, you have neighbors along that route, you volunteer along that route, you go to school along that route, you know, like, you now have, like, what, like, 22 people you know who use that train, who you know intimately, that you at least care about passingly, who are serviced by that train, and you're like, oh shit, you know, and then you have, like, all the different people who are using that train and all the different communities that are in that, and then, like, if there's, like, a couple that you've specifically had, like, a lot of experience with, it's like, so, like, why not make that same story about the inefficiencies of the public transit, but why not make it about those people who you love, and, like, a characterization of their community that's respectfully made out of the things which you see that they care about in their culture, and representing those things rather than, like, them as individuals, but more about just, like, the spirit of, like, you know, the flattering spirit of a people, and then their struggles, and then, like, pointing it into a theme that's a larger societal critique, you know. So it's like, just taking that one example where it's like, you know, it's the same story told from two different perspectives. And I think it's like, if you're telling it from the point of servicing the people you love in your community versus the point of servicing yourself and your beliefs, I think that it's more beautiful. I believe it's more beautiful if you're doing it because of the people you love and to service a larger beneficial point. So that's where it comes into, like, composition for me. It's very difficult for me to critique stories and to talk about writing with people, because I feel like with that perspective, there's this thing where it's like, when I argue fully. To me, debate is a safe space. You know, it's not emotional. You're arguing ideas because you're arguing ideas. I'm critiquing something based on what I believe to be its merits, like, as unbiased as I can perceive. I have a bias, but, like, with the taste that is my bias, I'm trying to process it through that and give a critique of that. There's no emotional context behind that critique. So then, like, you know, but when you're talking with people who are modern composers, whether that be in music or writing or art generally, like, just think about Inside by Bo Burnham. Like, it's so enwrapped in the self. It's literally a one-man show where, yes, there is societal critique, but the very fiber of the project is the man, you know. And, like, I think that is a very curious sort of development. I think he did a great job. I also probably do have to read Selfie Suicide, because I feel like that probably understands the things I'm getting at here. But it is, you know, there is just something to I feel like the reality that it is more worthy to live for things greater than yourself than it is to live to pursue self-interest. I think that most humans are going to be motivated to do that over just servicing, you know, just like, because it's like, if you're trying to make the best life for yourself, yeah, sure, that's fun for 30 years. That's fun for 30 years where you're learning a skill and you're developing a skill and you're getting a business and you're building your bank account and you're, like, looking at property and things like that. But, like, once you hit 30, it's like, oh shit, what's the point, bro? Is the point money? Is the point Gucci shirts? Is the point, like, you know, all this shit? Really? Is the point, like, a fast car? Is the point, like, a affordable, not unaffordable, but is the point, like, a nice house where I live by myself? Probably not. Most likely not. You know, like, there's probably going to be some sort of community, whether that be your family, or that's, like, a church, or that's, like, just some sort of group of people, even if it's a fucking city, dude. Like, it's just, you gotta care about life. You know, it's like, and you can care about yourself. Caring about yourself is a crucial part of this process. But I would say, philosophically, I'm very against the idea of the self as the American understands it, because I think that it is satanic. I think that it is a satanic worship to emphasize the self as such an important spiritual concept. That is not the point of individualism. Individualism is a political concept, and individualism exists so that the state can molest the individual as little as possible. It is trying to restrict the rights of a government to interact with the people in a malignant way. That's what the Magna Carta and like things like that are about. That's what the individualism is. It's not hedonism. It's not Tiberius with his parade outside of Rome. You know, it's not that sort of celebration of that. It's a celebration. It's not even a celebration. It's a restriction of the necessary evil, which is the government. But like morality does not stem from that. Morality does not stem from individualism. I think morality stems from the ineffable. It stems from what is wordless and understood between the community in Sobernost, which is just a Russian word that again, I'm trying to explain it, but it's that morality which comes from the common good in sort of like fana, which is an Islamic Sufi term, which means the dissolution of the self into God's will. It's kind of, Sobernost is kind of like that, where it's a dissolution of the self into God's will. But whereas Islam really, what's the word, emphasizes jihad, which not in terms of the violent sort. So the spiritual jihad is the idea of there's the self who is in a world, and there's the morals of the self and the morals that is between the self and Allah, and those might not line up with the world around you. So then the spiritual jihad is to live in a way which pleases Allah in a society which does not accept that. You know, and that doesn't have to do with doing anything violent. It just has to do with setting a better example. And I like that too. I think that's also a beautiful concept. But the thing that I like about Sobernost more that is the emphasis on it's not about it's not about setting the self against reality. It's about accepting that you are a piece of reality and there's other pieces of reality, and that we're all a part of the same thing, and all of us are equally holy, and there is something that we all need to reach, you know, and it's about loving all people and loving children and redeeming all men, and not, you know, and it's like the anti-gulag. If the gulag is like cleaning up the undesirables, Sobernost is like trying to heal everybody to a point that we can just it's kind of like preparing for the second coming. It's kind of apocalyptic, but like it's beautiful. I don't know. It's a complicated one, but still, I think that all these ideas just lead to a different perspective on composition. And I think that if you read the banned books in the American 20th century, I think all those books are about that concept. So I think it's interesting because it's like I was a really edgy kid. I am a settler American. My family is so historic. Wow, so much history. I'm as much American as you can be. So I was really ungrateful, and I hated this country because I saw it as like a symbol of everything that was evil. But as I grow older, I'm like, shit. You know, there's stuff I appreciate about it. You know, like the freedom of speech is pretty cool. The melting pot's pretty cool. I feel like people don't understand that America is one of the most diverse parts of the world. Like if you look at Tokyo, which is like one of the only comparable regions to New York, if you want to talk about diversity, multicultural, no, we're not doing that. Like I'm joking. There is a lot of diversity in Tokyo. You know, like it's not like it's just like one group of people, but at the same time, it's not New York. It's not like where you have like little Cuba next to fucking little Belarusia next to fucking like little Nairobi. You know, like it's not. You're not gonna see this melting pot. That is the reality in a lot of American cities. Like in Detroit, like bro, I live in between like at least 4 different ethnic groups that have settled here and formed their own communities. Like it's incredible. It's like the fucking internet. You know, like you can't. The hardest part for me about leaving America is losing that, because that's the one thing that I do really value. Is that, I mean, it's fucking amazing. You go to Chicago, you go to California, you go to Texas. There's gonna just be this melting pot of culture that if you're open-minded and you come in with a good heart and you're willing to experience other people's cultures as if it's your own and you're willing to not debate it, that one depends. Like, you know, it's like it's polite to fight the Irish, but like just kind of go along with Hispanic Catholicism. You know, it's like there's just different ways people want to be, you know, and you just read the room and you just like interact with them, and then you get to experience people's lives, you know, like that's fucking beautiful. I've been doing this my whole life, and I don't identify as any of these cultures, you know. It's like just because I've been to Buddhist services as a child, just because I've been to Catholic services more than my own like hereditary religion, all these things, it's not like I'm trying to like, you know, say I'm part of these cultures, but experiencing it as part of their culture is a beautiful thing. And I think that is just, all these things are really interesting, and I think that there is this really like wide aspect of larger society that people completely miss out on, where it's like the individual is a symbol for the collective. Why are you so obsessed with being original? Why are you so obsessed with being unique? What value does that have? The bad, the awful art is unique because nobody else wants to do it. Great art necessarily becomes cliche because everybody imitates it. Like, I don't care if your hero is fucking Picasso or Shakespeare. Everybody stole that shit and ran with it for fucking at least a century for Broken Face guy. But for Shakespeare, it's been like, what, half a fucking millennia? You know, like, people take this shit. Like, if you're even remotely good, you're no longer unique because people are gonna follow in your footsteps. So, like, why not embrace the larger human story? Why not see yourself as part of the project, part of the whole experience, rather than an individual set out to like against the fiber of reality and things like that? You know, it's like, I mean, I guess that's like the critique of Nietzsche, you know. And I'm gonna be honest, this is just me processing things in real time, but it's like, so something that Logo brought to my attention via his fucking bullshit Twitter, love you, is that Nietzsche was really influenced by English philosophy, which makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Because the thing about English philosophy, and when I say English, I do mean British, but I don't use the word British because I hate the crown, but English, Welsh, Scottish, Irish, any of these people, there's a common culture that has to do with moderation, tolerance, acceptance of outsiders, and the idea of ignorance, the idea that the human being himself is flawed, and that the only perfection is in trying to serve God, and that every person must be free to serve God as they see it, or as they see, you know, serve good in God as they see it, because it's like that's a private relationship that they must follow. You know, so I think that is a very Isles philosophy, and it does make sense. Nietzsche respected Shakespeare at least, and he was a Anglophile, so he liked his English philosophy. And it's like, yeah, it definitely does seem like he picked up a lot of that. But then it seems like he writes some good shit. Nietzsche's a talented writer. He releases bangers. His style is bangers, but I would say he does unnecessarily set himself against the world. Where it is this persecution complex, it is this sort of like lone figure on the mountains, thus spoke Zarathustra, where it's like, I think that there's something improper about wanting to be a prophet, because it's like, you will necessarily die, and then people will misunderstand the whole point. That's like the process of being a prophet. Meanwhile, it's like, the Grand Inquisitor is kind of the most challenging question in that regard, where it's like, should you set up a moral system that you don't necessarily believe in because you believe it would be good for people, or must you be a true believer? But I think that there is like a middle category where it's just like, it's not agnosticism, it's the agnosticism of ignorance, where it's like, yo, I got my beliefs, but I also believe I'm wrong. I don't believe in human knowledge. I don't believe in the process of language. I don't believe in logos. And it's not that I don't believe in logos, like I don't understand it. I have a very rationally minded brain, and I like logos, but have you ever tried to convince people with it? No one fucking listens. I don't care. If you're an American and you're in your 20s or 30s, and you've been watching politics for the last, 20 years, you know damn well. You know damn well none of that is logos. You know damn well all of that is emotional appeal and in-group appeal and then hating out groups. That is all of American politics. I don't give a fuck. It's like, when's the last time you heard a presidential candidate like literally go up there and debate for 2 hours about policy? Where they were like, all right, trains, what are we doing with America's trains? All right, mental health, are we going to reform mental health? All right, prison reform. It's like literally like, it's just like our agenda is like, so it's like, yo, we got A and B, and then A is like, yo, all right, B, I respect you, I think you'd be a decent president, and I hope you feel the same about me, but this is what I really want to see change in the country, is that it's like, I don't want to see our population be predated upon. I want Americans to feel safe in their own streets. Therefore, I want to repeal all drug legislation and allow anybody who's just like, struggling with their life to not feel like they're going to go to prison for it. And I want to invest in rehabs to make it more affordable, make it like $1,000 to $2,000 programs that are options for people who are really struggling but just don't have the cash, and also give them some sort of like, some sort of way to get assistance in paying that. And then also for like my transportation program, I want to make sure that all the regions of America at least have some sort of basic regional transport, where that's like, in the Midwest, that'd be like Detroit, Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Louis. And then like in the South, that'd be like, like Memphis, fucking Arlington, Raleigh, Atlanta. I don't know the region that well. But I think like that, you got that Las Vegas, San Diego, LA, San Francisco. Well, they already got a lot of that shit, but still. But put San Diego to Las Vegas to Reno to Boise. Why don't we have a fucking train like that, bro? And just putting out sort of policy like that. Like we'd have a debate like that, and then B is like, yo, word, I hear you. Like that shit, cool. I also think you'd be a good president. Thank you for saying that about me. I'm flattered. So may the best person win, and may whoever gets the most, support win. Either way, I'm happy that we're the choices that America has given us. Like, just imagining this atmosphere for a presidential debate, I'd love it. I'd fucking love it. Just like the most, just respectful, productive, objective, literate presidential debate. I want to be bored to sleep and watch it the next day. Like, I get 40 minutes in and I'm like, we're talking about the rates of return on greenifying roadways. And then the next day, you're like, finish the episode and or finish the debate, and you get, I was like, that would be fun. Instead, we just get people emotional appeal, in-group appeal. I hate out groups. I'm not gonna vote for that. I'm sorry. Fuck you. I'm sorry, but fuck you. I don't care. And it's like, oh my god, the fucking climate's dying. Oh my god, everything's gonna fucking global warming. You drive a car. You know how many cars I've owned in my life? You know how many cars? You know what? None. I've owned no cars in my life. And I got to 25. No fucking cars. You're making children schizophrenic in cities because the emissions from your motor vehicle make children schizophrenics. Yes, I am also a part of the problem. I get rides from people. I've never owned a car. And I've tried to walk as much as I could in my life. I've tried to get around via my feet as much as possible, which has no emissions other than just, it's just like cows. Okay, yeah, sure. But, put your fucking money where your mouth is. Do you take planes to LA? Do you take planes to Miami? Then don't bitch to me about the motherfucking environment. I haven't moved in motherfucking years, boy. I get from this side of the city to that side of the city. Like, y'all are motherfucking taking vacations. Y'all are motherfucking driving for 10 hours in a fucking day to go visit your friends and fuck off whatever. And it's like, I'm trying to build cities. I'm trying to build regions that you don't need any oil to fucking live in. You want to talk about saving the environment? How about getting off of oil? Oh, stop eating meat. Fuck you. Fuck your car. Fuck your suburb. Fuck your money. Woo! Sorry, but this is just, it's annoying. It's annoying because it's like, as an American urbanite, we have the population, we have the money, we kind of have the businesses. Why don't we just have a fucking normal urban livable region? Why don't we just have normal public transit? Why does everybody need a fucking death machine? Why does everybody need a fucking death machine? Do you know how many kids are killed by fucking cars? Oh, that was sweaty. Well, I'm gross. Oh no. But do you know how many kids are fucking killed by cars a year? It's insane. It's insane. And yet we just like go on. We're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just yelling at a fucking camera at this point. But it's just like, you know, it's like, I get very frustrated with rhetoric. I get very frustrated because that's the thing, is that people think it's logos. They use this tone, so it's like you got to take me very seriously because I'm very impassioned about the points that I am making. So it sounds like I've actually researched what I care about, and this is like something I'm taking a stand on. And because I am risking my emotional investment and my reputation on this point, that I am an informed citizen on the subject. You know, and it's just like, that's the debate style, and it's like, bro, you're obviously, the fact that you're using that tone means this is an emotional display, means that you're working on emotional manipulation, because that's how politics work, is that they manipulate your emotions and make you feel like a good person for thinking things. So when you're getting guilted into a philosophy because it makes you feel like a good person, you're probably working with Satan. Just saying. Nobody pats me on the back for being a fucking weirdo skitsy that says crazy shit and hangs. Like, nobody fucking cares if you're a race mixing urbanite white guy. Nobody cares. You don't get a pat on the fucking back for that shit. Are you kidding me? You just live that life, and you just live the reality that they want to fucking talk about, where it's like, oh yeah, we're multicultural, oh yeah, I respect other people, oh yeah. It's like, oh, you can't talk about your black friend, that's fucking It's like, it's not about my black friend, it's about the reality of my life being mostly with non-white people in America. Wow. You know, like, there's also us, who you just completely forget about, who I would just say is like, it's like, I'd say we're center-left. We need a left-wing libertarian party. Because the Libertarian Party, I like them a lot, but they're kind of right-wing. You know, it's kind of like their thing. Where it's like, yo, I'm a full libertarian. I like, let's repeal all this, like, regulation and shit. Let's get people making money. At the same time, you're really struggling in life. Yeah, here's Food House and, like, all that shit. I do believe in housing the homeless. I believe in a lot of social programs. I believe in, like, you know, a very firm safety net. And then specifically, I believe in, like, a rewarding safety, like a rewarding social program. So it's like, you know, entrepreneurs get a break, and, like, people who are trying to, like, you know, build a skill, paying people to go to school, paying people to do, like, things like that, paying people to become plumbers, you know, like these sorts of programs where it's like you're actively, anything that statistically gets people more money, more motivated, keeps them in work, keeps them happier and more productive. That's the programs we should be implementing. You can also just look at prisons around the world, and it's like, it's stupid, because, like, there's this guy who did this obesity speech at a TED Talk, and he was fucking, it was amazing. He did a great talk. I think it's Oakley something, or Ogie something. But takeaway, 57% of our kids are not physically fit. Meanwhile, in Europe, like, 7% of our kids are not physically fit. There are lifestyle changes we can make. You know, it's not like the humans are broken. It's that it's like there is a sick lifestyle that I think comes down from... I think it's like, how could a suburban or an exurban lifestyle not be sedentary? Your house is car dependent. You can't walk out. The sidewalk is a fucking mirage. It's a goddamn joke. It's for fucking bicycles. You know? So it's like you're demotivating people from going outside and then wondering why all these health risks are coming up. You know? So... I don't know, man. I just think that there's a lot of things that we could discuss and, like, be productive about. And I don't think it's that esoteric. I don't think it's that hard to understand. Hopefully this shit plays. Cogi. So that's what was on my mind today. Because I feel like a lot of this is under-discussed, and like, how the fuck they don't even talk about this at school at all? Why isn't it's like we have a social studies program, we don't have an urban planning class? What the fuck wrong with you? Why not? You know, 25 cities have developed urban planning programs through Minecraft. I'm not even ahead of the curve. I'm just a part of the culture, baby. Return to tradition. Return to Minecraft. Cogi is also one of those musicians that never studied theory. So all of his music is just learned by ear, which is one of the more impressive things I would say. Also, I fucking hate that. Yeah, that was obviously not intentional. This is where it's like I'm anti all symbols now. I'm anti all symbols. The only thing I like is the cross, because go Christ. So this is the thing is as an edgy person, things that are passe become boring. So I'm really bored with like the edgy Satanist Black Sabbath shit. It seems like so fucking dad rock to me. Like I'm thinking like I want like an edgy friend. I want like a Jehovah Witness friend. I want like a Mormon friend. That shit is gonna be like that's counterculture. You throw that person in a room, you throw that person in a party. Oh, they're offending everybody. That's hilarious. Fuck. Those are some of his music. You know. Ugh. Yeah, we're cutting it. We're cutting it here. Thanks for hanging out. This was Highlight with Karhlyle Fletcher. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. You know what it is. Cannabis science, classic lit, independent music, and urban planning. That's what we do. Every fucking week. 3 hours a week. We're your source. We're your source. Check in again. All right. See ya.